So let me first introduce myself. I'm Danila Pavlov. I'm the CFO of Nebius AI, and today we're going to speak about decoding the GPU prices, and I will share some tips from my more than 6 years experience in building clouds from scratch. So before we start, I suppose it's extremely interesting for me to get your opinion. What will be the fair price for GPU H100 if you launch it in the cloud provider? So you now can see a poll with different options to choose, and let's see what's the average price in the market. So the answers is really interesting. I mean, they are almost equally distributed between the options, and a lot of people voted for from 3 to 3.5. I would say it's the most popular now. And anyway, almost 25% voted for $2 and up to $2.5, which is significantly cheaper than the most popular answer. And the reason for that is that because we have a lot of cloud providers around the world, and we will discuss it later, and I will try to help you understand what's the difference between these providers and what's the difference between their prices. So why do we at all decided to speak about the GPU prices and how they should be decoded? Well, because up to 70% of all rounds of financing for GenAI startups are spent on the compute. So today I'm going to share some tips from myself that I hope will help you at least save the money, but maybe also save the time, which sometimes is even more valuable for a startup. So as we mentioned about the pricing, there is a universe of cloud providers around the world. And it begins from the bare metal providers, which have the least level of abstraction, and then ends up with our well-known big three cloud providers who have the widest portfolio and the best level of abstraction, but on the other hand, they have the highest prices. And on this picture, to be honest, the prices can range from $2 up to $12. And again, my idea today is to share some knowledge and understanding how to figure out the best from the different cloud providers and their different tariffs. So today I'm going to share the 6 rules how to win the price game. And we're going to start from, first of all, choosing what's the best for you. And the idea is you have to think twice before deciding that the bare metal is the right choice for you. So let's first start with what's the bare metal. So technically, the bare metal is a provider who offers you a direct connection to the physical dedicated server, and they don't provide any virtualization layer, and most of the time without any shared storage. So why people choose it? There are a lot of particular cases when dedicated physical server is the best option. To be honest, the dedicated service can be the fastest one, and in some corner cases, it's really the best choice. On the other hand, you have to understand that the bare metal requires strong technical skills inside the development team. And usually, ML engineers do not have these skills, and this means that you have to have additional team for that. But on the other hand, the bare metal providers are usually the cheapest one, and sometimes can be more flexible in the allocation of resources. So in order for you to understand what's your choice, bare metal or cloud, I provided you with a checklist of this is like the basic checklist of what you should do in order to understand that bare metal is for you. So first of all, it's the sensitivity to GPU recovery after failure. Well, I'm not saying that bare metal is usually fails, but there is such a possibility. And usually bare metal providers are quite slow in recovering the GPU because they are not as flexible as cloud providers. And as I said, the bare metal means you have an access to the physical GPU. And if the GPU fails on the physical level, it means that the provider has to give you another one again on the physical level, and sometimes it can take up to days to recover and get new GPUs, because it may happen that at this particular point of time, bare metal provider do not have any spare GPUs to recover and to give it for you. The second extremely important point is technical capabilities. Be aware that you would have to have a specific dedicated team of engineers that will be basically doing the DevOps tasks and making the life of ML engineers easier for them to focus on their end work, I mean, writing the code. And what's even more important, that this team has to be 24/7. And in my humble opinion and in my experience, 24/7 means at least five person in the team. And if we take into account that the average cost of one headcount can be up to 150,000 USD per year, if you take into account all the costs outside of salary, you may understand how expensive to have such team can be if you choose a bare metal provider. Another point is, of course, the SLA. They differ significantly from provider to provider, and even, which is more interesting, they can significantly differ from type of hardware. So be careful and choose wisely while choosing the bare metal provider, and basically do the math and see if it's really cheaper. So the first rule is choose your type of cloud. The second rule is deep dive into the specs. Well, a lot of cloud providers are providing the prices on their website, which is the price just for GPU. So in order to get the final price of the virtual machine, you have to multiply the components of virtual machines, such as vCPU and RAM, by the price of each component, and then to sum up the results. And only after that, you will receive the end price of the virtual machine. So for example, on the picture on the right, there is in bold and highlighted the price of the GPU. And even I had made a mistake and thought that this is the final price of the GPU while comparing my competitors. But in the end, I found out that this is only the GPU. And in order to get the actual price, you have to add the 0.0, which is in much smaller letters on the header of the table, multiplied by the number of CPUs and RAM. On the left screen, you can see the example of calculator that is showing you the breakdown of the virtual machine into different components, with the GPU component highlighted by the white color. So my second rule is be careful and deep dive into the specs in order to compare apples to apples. And now as usual in all contracts, there is a rule even here, mind the disclaimer. What I mean here, usually the lowest prices is always subject to some special conditions. So as you can see on the screen, there is a quite interesting 2.24 price for 1 hour of GPU H100. But after that, you can see that there is different conditions in order to get this price. And the condition is quite severe. It's a 3-year commitment. But I've got also an example with a much, in my humble opinion, much more severe conditions is 3 years and 100% prepaid reserve. So just to be clear, in order to get the price on the website, in this particular case, you have to pay provider a 3-year upfront. So you are losing at least the interest rate on your bank account for 3 years in a row, while paying the provider quite a significant sum of money if we're speaking about H100, for example. So be careful again, and always mind the disclaimer on the websites. But I'll be honest with you, the whole market is playing this game, and well, at some point of time, we decided that who we are to go against the market. And on my own website, you can see 2.12 for 1 hour H100, which is also only if you commit for 3 years. So rule number 3 is mind the disclaimer. Well, previous topics was mostly connected to the prices on the website, and I would say more finance things. But we all understand that the end user of capacity is, of course, the technical team. And for technical team, there's also some life hacks from my side, and I hope they can use it. So, well, the first tip is, of course, ensure that the provider you're gonna choose will have a support for multi-host training. For example, if you have a small training on, I don't know, 1 GPU, you can not even ask for a support. But again, if we're talking about some huge training for 512 GPUs or even for thousands of GPUs, or for example, you're gonna make a project regarding an inference, and you will be running a production in our cloud, for example. Support team is crucial. And what is even more important, you have to understand is what's the team time schedule. Do they work 24/7? What is the sorry? And what is the SLA for the answer? What is the forecasted SLA for the problem solved? Will you have a dedicated engineers? How experienced are they? Especially dedicated engineers. Well, it's one of the best things to have if you're a customer. This is the person who will, to be honest, work in some kind of gray zone between the hardware and the software of provider and the software of the customer. And he can potentially help you solve different problems in this gray zone, which can save you a lot of time and therefore a lot of money. Like in our case, we have it's dedicated engineer which is connected to each customer who is running something in our cloud. So the fourth rule is to ensure that the cloud provider has a multi-host support. Well, support is a great thing when you're already a customer, but how can you understand that the support is great or they even have a proper 24/7 support, not just a word on the website? So my idea here is try to get a proof of concept if you're going large scale. So proof of concept is basically a trial period which is provided to you by the cloud, in order for you to understand all the peculiarities of different clouds, because all clouds are different. Try to run some testing, try to run some small trainings, understand the speed of cloud, understand the support team. And in the end, basically, you can even reevaluate your contract length, because to be honest, there can be significantly different clouds, and sometimes in one cloud, the same training will run faster than in different cloud. So in the end, the cloud that can be higher in price can end up as a winner if you compare not the GPU price hour by hour, but if you compare overall your expenses for the whole period of training, or for example, the expenses for the whole inference if you're going to do that. And again, not all clouds are given a POC. And as an example, I provided on the screen, it's one of our competitors who offer free trials, but depending on the use case and depending on the long term of commitment. So rule number 5 is to do a POC. And the end, but I would say again, finance terms, but still interesting. It's think about your plan flexibility. So, well, there is a lot of different tariffs in the world of clouds, and sometimes some providers are giving only prepaid tariffs. And this is really, well, it's really nice thing for a cloud provider when you get the money upfront. But if you're a customer, you're basically losing again the bank interest. This is the first, and second, you have to have this cash immediately on hand if you have to pay prepayment. So choose wisely what is most suitable for you, prepayment or post-payment. Second, not all workloads are required 24/7 work of GPU. Of course, there are cases when the GPU is running 24/7 for each day and for months and months. In this case, of course, reserve is the best one you can choose. But for example, if you have a training of a large language model, you basically have different cases, I would say different steps while you train this model. So there will be, of course, a step when you will have a lot of capacity required in order to train the model. But after that, there will be some experiments where you are not sure that the results will be right, but you still have you still will need like a spikes in consumption. So in such a case, the ideal cloud will be the cloud that offers you an option to combine pay-as-you-go and reserve. So you can, for example, reserve the minimum amount of GPUs that you're using every day, and then have spikes in the periods when there is a need for that. Well, inside we call it the train fabric concept, and I know that several of our competitors also launched such type of tariffs in the world this year. So choose wisely and decide on the provider that offers you such a flexibility. Well, in the end of all this thing, to be honest, is that choosing their cloud provider is not just comparing GPU price per hour, which you can see on the website, because as we mentioned already, websites usually hide the important information under the small letters in the beneath the main numbers. So my main advice, if I combine all tips I've already mentioned, is to do the math and create a small model of your GPU costs. So for example, you have, I don't know, 3 providers that you're choosing from. First provider is a bare metal provider. In such a case, you have to include the costs of technical team that will be running your cluster 24/7. Otherwise, you can significantly slow down or even stop your training or inference if you don't have such a team and something happened with the hardware and you're not able to check it or you're not able to fix it. The second provider is, for example, a provider who takes only prepayments for long-term contracts, but, for example, has the price for a virtual machine with all the components included. And the third provider is the most flexible one, but he has the price only for the GPU on the website. So you basically need to do the three layers and compare the end cost of your usage, not the price per hour, because price per hour is misleading. It's not covering the whole cost that you can incur during the project. And I would say, as a present for myself, I will provide you on Monday with a small, but again, I would say helpful financial model that can evaluate different scenarios and understand which one is cheaper. This is just dummy numbers for understanding that are based on the calculation of 64 GPU H100 in the hardware as a service and in cloud infrastructure. So as you can see on the screen, the price per GPU is significantly cheaper in the hardware as a service. And it also includes vCPU and RAM inside the GPU price. And the cloud infrastructure does not do that. And it's significantly higher in price. But then there came the infrastructure technical support, this labor cost I've spoken about. And this labor cost basically wipes out all the difference in price between hardware and the cloud provider. And then it's the question of the size of your installation and the ability of your technical team, whether you have it, to manage your installation. This calculator will be improved and sent later by myself in the follow-up letter. That's basically all from my side, but I see that there are some questions in the chat, which I will answer right now. Just a second. So let's start from the first one. What scale of GPU deployments are we seeing for now? Well, it depends significantly. There are customers who are coming for 64 GPUs, and there are customers who are coming for thousands of GPUs. But I would say that the average customer is somewhere in the middle. If I need just one H100 for 1 year, how can I get a discount? Well, technically on my website, and it's not an advertisement, but it's written on the website, even with one GPU, if you want a discount and you want to reserve for 1 year, you will get it. For 1 year, it will be around 30% discount from the public price. What allows Nebius to give such cost-efficient pricing compared to larger hyperscalers? It seems that from the tech side, you're closer to them, yet the public pricing is much lower. Well, let me be frankly here. My understanding of big hyperscalers is that they are providing an enormously wide portfolio of services. But as usual in the world, the Pareto is working there also. So 80% of their revenue is going through 20% of their services. But anyway, they have to finance the rest 80% of services that are basically not earning money. But we here are focused only on the ML and AI workloads, and we are providing specialized tailored GPU cloud that basically allows us to be much more cost efficient in terms of headcount, and this also means in terms of pricing. Do you see the pricing for H100 decreasing in the foreseeable future, especially with the Blackwell coming soon? Well, this is a tricky question. Well, if you're going to stick to the economic rules, it looks like that the new generation should force the prices of the old generation to fall. But it looks like that the GPU market is now not exactly following the rules of economics. For example, if you take a look at the prices of the old generation of GPUs like A100, V100, they are decreasing, of course, but not as fast as people would forecast. My explanation here is that the demand is such high that the newest generation, as soon as it rolled out, is basically immediately bought by the big players. This means that most of the customers are not able to get this new generation, but the hype and the fear of missing opportunities in this new business are driving the customers to continue buying the previous generation, and this pushes the prices further. This is first explanation. The second explanation is that basically, for example, H100 is also quite good for some inference scenarios. And for the inference scenarios, you will be choosing not maybe the best performance GPU, but will be choosing the best price per performance. And in some cases for inference, H100 potentially can be much more effective in cost than the new generation. What privacy measures are being taken when I use this kind of platforms for training inference? How do I know that my information will not be misused? Good question. I would answer according to what I know as a CFO and not the technical guy. But as a publicly traded company, and we are a part of such company, and we have to follow the compliance rules. And according to compliance rules, we do not have access to the code that you run on our platform or to the information that you download on our platform. And this basically means that we couldn't take or couldn't look at what you're doing inside the virtual machine, and therefore your code is in safety. Where are your GPU workloads deployed? Our GPU workloads currently deployed in the Finland data center, which is situated in the European Union. So I suppose that we wait some time for extra questions. Questions, chat. Okay. Okay, I see them. Are you charged for when the instance is on? Can you automate pausing turning off instance when not training to save money? Yes, we charge only when the instance is on. There is a technical possibility to automate turning and pausing instance, and it's technically called serverless. As of now, we do not provide such option, but in the future, there definitely will be. Do you plan to provide access to NVIDIA B200 in the nearest future? Yes, we will. On the latest conference, NVIDIA announced B200, and Nebius was among the first customers that will receive B200. Well, unfortunately, there is no actual dates of delivery of such server, and we're pushing NVIDIA to disclose them, but yeah. Do you have alerts or budgeting options in your cloud so that I can control my costs for pay-as-you-go? Yes, we do. But I have to double check the timing of this feature, because as a CFO, I'm covering the billing, I mean the development of billing, and I know that we have this feature in alpha version, so I'm not sure about the actual production readiness, but it will soon be. How do you account for surprises in huge banks with usage, perhaps multi-cloud solutions? Well, again, I will try my best to answer the question, but it's more technical. From my understanding, we have a direct interconnect between major clouds, and this helps us to don't have such surprises. Well, I'm not aware about the size of your bandwidth usage, but I'm quite sure that we're gonna handle it, or at least we're gonna ask our dedicated engineer to help you figure out the details of the connection between the clouds in such a way that there will be no surprises. Do you have only NVIDIA GPU, or do you have also AMD GPU? Well, as of now, in the public, we have only NVIDIA GPU. Unfortunately, I'm not sure about whether we are looking at the AMD or at what time they will be available to public, so I couldn't comment here. Well, looks like that most of the questions are answered. Thanks a lot for attention, and have a nice evening.